Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we will be touring my copper and steel factory. Just a heads up, there won't be any teaching moment on this one, so if you're interested in learning, maybe skip directly to my next video. But if you're a friend in real life, or my mom, you're morally obligated to watch it and pretend you like it. Welcome to my copper tower of power. Who needs walls when you've got verticality, right? I'm sure the neighbors will appreciate the open concept, or call it a fire hazard. This was my first time experimenting with blueprints and designing factories like Jenga blocks, so that you can stack one on top of the other. Just pray the wind doesn't blow too hard. If you think these inputs and outputs look handcrafted, that's because they are. Nothing says custom like fixing the mistakes you didn't know you'd made. As a recommendation, if you are designing blueprints like this, try to also include in the blueprint the handling of the inputs and outputs, so that you don't end up panicking later trying to connect everything. Okay, so what are we doing here? I always like adding a summary to each factory to know exactly what's happening. In this case, some wire, some copper sheets, and some cable. And when I was talking about handling inputs and outputs on the blueprints, over here we can see a summary level by level, and we can see that the first two levels do exactly the same, as well as level 3 and level 4. These two levels are actually the same blueprint, so I could have merged the inputs and the outputs, preventing me of having to put 4 leaves on each side, which was kind of a lot of work, especially because I didn't have a jetpack back then, so it involved a lot of ladder climbing and falling to your death. But well, that's how you learn, making silly mistakes. Now on the logistics levels, I'm also crafting the ingots through these foundries. And I think there's not much to tell about this, only that I started bringing the input materials through these glass corridors, which look pretty nice. Okay, so I think this is all I've got to tell about this factory. Let's move to the next one. The steel factory is right next to the copper one, but why walk in when we have a really cool Hypertube network to show off? Behold, the most luxurious refinery suite you'll ever see. Why did I build a room for 5 refineries? Great question, wish I had a great answer. At the beginning, I thought that every machine had to be placed in a room, and trying to fit 5 huge refineries so close to each other end up producing a factory that looks like a huge shoebox. Remember, it doesn't rain in this game, so you can place refineries outside without the risk of explosion. But well, at least we have chimneys now, so it's a good place to work if you're not a smoker and you care about your lungs. So, what do we have going on over here? This factory is divided into 2. The main building where the magic is made, and the shoebox where the raw materials are processed. Or almost all of the raw materials. We will be getting there in a minute. We have 4 refineries crafting iron plates and 1 crafting concrete. So let's move to our second building. In the main steel building, I tried something new. Hope. I hoped everything would fit. Spoiler alert, it did, but only after a lot of squeezing. Who needs careful planning when you can have chaos? This building has everything, except enough space for sensible logistic. This balcony might look fancy, but it's also why the place is a build nightmare. Doing this type of thin floors make it so that you can't have proper logistic levels, so everything ended up in the roof. Hey, at least it looks dope. Then moving on, this smelter over here is the embarrassing part of the factory. Underclocked to produce the staggering amount of 16 iron ingots. Not only the machine is quite useless, but it also means that I have to bring an extra line of raw materials, making logistics even harder. I've mentioned it before, the reason for this is that at the beginning I didn't like overclocking machines, only miners to get more raw materials. But you can still do this without overclocking. Just add an extra refinery and underclock all of them. This gives you a pretty good advantage. First of all, energy consumption will be lower, and secondly, you get the chance of easily scaling things up in the future without having to overclock. So, what are the final numbers? There should be here we are. This is what I end up producing. It's not that much, but it's still pretty useful. All of these materials end up in a sushi vault going directly to my storage, and other ones I use to build around. So, well, this wraps up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. On the next one, we will be talking about technical stuff and teaching how to make your factories initialize way faster. And it's probably going to be the first video where I have Lumen on. See you in the next one.